Okay, Hare Krishna. So, we mentioned that we're going to be speaking about the Great Reset again and exactly how we should reset society. We know that the World Economic Forum and the UN, they have an idea to reset society, and we agree that's a great idea. We think it should be reset, but how? And today we're going to discuss that. And but we're going to begin with discussing the arrangement of the present society because you want to change something and make an analysis of what is good, what is bad, what to change. So we're going to begin with that analysis. And so we're going to look at what they say they want with the Great Reset, the goals of the Great Reset, their goals. As you may know, have you read anything about the Great Reset? Read
Great
or you
Reset.
see anything?
What?
You read or hear anything about this Great Reset?
Yeah, I hear, but not in detail.
No detail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Details are hard to find, actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah. They give all kind of nice fancy words, but no details. So we're going to look at this from their perspective, from what they think like. So first, what do they say they want to do? This is one book by Klaus Schwab. He's the chairman of the World Economic Forum, and he wrote a book called The Great Reset. And in this book, they make they give the impression that the COVID-19 has changed everything in the world, and it gives us a great opportunity to see how that we can readjust everything. This is somewhat of an old idea. Back in the 1980s, there was an economist from the University of Chicago by the name of Milton Friedman. Maybe you know the name. Anyway, he was a rather famous economist in the United States. And he was especially famous for making a statement that let's say, how do I put it? That no crisis should be wasted. We should take advantage of every crisis because in a crisis you can do things you can't do in ordinary times.
Yeah.
When people are in crisis, they just want solution and they don't care how it comes. So that gives them the opportunity to change everything. And so there is one book by an economist, Michel Chossudovsky from University of Ottawa, I believe. And this book was The Globalization of Poverty in the New World Order. And in this book, he traces out how the World Bank and the IMF, International Monetary Fund, how they deliberately created crises so that they could change everything and take advantage of people. So, for example, when they overthrew the government of Pinochet, I think it was Pinochet in Argentina or Chile, overnight the price of bread went up 40 times. The price of gasoline went up also very high overnight. And so they call this like shock doctrine, right? Another woman, Naomi Klein, Canadian lady, she wrote a book called Shock Doctrine, in which she traced out how the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, they would take advantage of crises also to exploit ordinary people, not rich people, but the poor people, to really just suck the money out of a country. Very terrible to read. So I was reading those two books just as I was writing my spiritual economics book, and I put a lot of quotes from them in the chapter on the economics of Tamagun, and which led me to write the chapter on divine or demonic natures, because when you see what these people do in the name of helping others, you understand they cannot be human, right? So we've got the same thing going on today. There's a crisis. So what are they going to do? They're not going to let a good crisis go to waste. Although, of course, there is no crisis. There was no crisis. It was simply a propaganda campaign to make people think that there was a crisis. And actually, there's one person, I forget his name, that I quote in my book, who says, you don't need a real crisis. You can just manufacture a crisis, which is really exactly what they've done. Exactly what they've done. So they put together the, they've been trying since turn of the century to create a pandemic. They had all these different flus, swine flu and bird flu and this flu and that flu. And some of them were quite deadly, but they were not very contagious. So they've been working at this. They've been trying to actually create something like this, but life and death is up to Krishna, so they haven't been able to be successful. So they just decided, okay, the heck with it. We'll just make propaganda as if there's a pandemic. So they changed the definition of a pandemic, I think in 2018, so that they could call, I think we'll call it NOVID, because this will go on YouTube, so we'll call it NOVID. So then the algorithms, they won't find it. So the NOVID, they just manufactured it. Okay, anyway, so what do they want? So yeah, we're going back to Klaus Schwab, his book, The Great Reset. He's talking about how, this has changed everything. It's changed the way governments work. It's changed the economy. Of course, it really didn't do that, the NOVID itself, but it was simply the reaction of the governments to the propaganda that changed many things. Okay, so what does Klaus say? The world must act jointly and swiftly to revamp all aspects of our societies and economies to change, ostensibly, presumably to improve, right? They want to fix it. From education to social contracts to working conditions, every country from the United States to China must participate. Every industry from oil and gas to tech must be transformed. In short, we need a great reset of capitalism. Capitalism, okay. That's what they say. So there was a very interesting video put up by them in which they had so many world leaders who were saying, yes, we need a great reset. And when you hear this, you wonder, well, all these people got together someplace and they decided that all this without discussing it with anybody.
Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight severe virus, but to shape the system.
We have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path.
And now is the time as the great opportunity for reset.
The Great Reset is a welcome recognition that this human tragedy must be a wake-up call. It is imperative that we reimagine, rebuild, redesign, reinvigorate, and rebalance our world.
We had already income inequality that was fueling income, race, gender inequality, requires us to act.
We have to change our economy dramatically in the next 20 or 30 years, and the next 10 years is absolutely decisive.
The recovery has to be greener, so we cannot waste this opportunity.
We've also seen social entrepreneurs step in incredible ways. Not only has it exposed the precarious reality, but then it has also exposed the opportunity to recenter, the reset,
And then we need to couple that with new initiatives to equip more people with.
We can never again allow our health, education, care systems to be underfunded.
We need our imagination here. Possible is being redefined each and every day, right?
We not only have to demand change, but also create change.
We have to live up to the expectations which we have created, and we will do so.
Right? Because we didn't hear of anything, but all the leaders, they're saying we have to have a great reset. But we don't get to participate in the discussion. For example, Prince Charles, he said, of course, he's not a government leader, but an influencer, a person of influence. Prince Charles, we have a golden opportunity to seize something good from this crisis. Its unprecedented shockwaves may well make people more receptive to big visions of change. So the idea is that people don't like change, right? People, they figure out how a system works. They want to just, engage in it and live their lives. Normal human beings, that is. They don't want change. Why change? Because change means uncertainty. What's going to come out at the other end? Nobody knows. So, so people, they're resistant to change. But then when a big shock comes along, okay, we're open to change because this shock, where did it come from? We don't know where it came from. It happened and we don't want it to happen again. So yes, we'll consider change. Okay, we presume that their idea is that they want to make the world better. Let's just give them that benefit of the doubt. And so again, if we want to understand, okay, how are we going to make it better? How do they want to make it better? Well, the Great Reset is tied in with what they call the Agenda 2030 or the Sustainable Development Goals. You've heard Sustainable Development Goals? Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030. Agenda 21 started in the early 90s. Their initial goal was to have it by the turn of the millennium. They didn't meet that goal, so in 2015 they came up with the Sustainable Development Goals, and now we've got Agenda 2030 and also Agenda 2050. So this is what they say they want to do, and nobody can argue. It sounds nice, but they don't say exactly how they're going to do this. Okay, so that's what they say they want to do. Now let's take a look at their society that they've created, their civilization, because who created this civilization? Did it just happen by chance? Actually, no. In my spiritual economics book, I trace out the history of how this modern society was developed and how long it took and the great endeavor that it took to accomplish this, to create this society that we have now. What a person does is a product of their consciousness, right? An artist paints some painting. It has to be up here before it appears on the canvas. Anything that somebody creates or does, it comes from within first and then manifests outside. So these people, they have created this society. And first thing we have to understand is what kind of people they are. And we take a clue from Bhagavad Gita from chapter 16. No, before that, we understand from the Mahabharata that the demons invaded the earth 5 or 6 millennia ago, and they were creating such problems that Krishna came to kill most of them. Not all of them were killed. They were killed in the Battle of Kurukshetra, and then after that, they've since reinstated their numbers, and they again have control of the world. And we can understand that by their activities. Prabhupada has taught us that one cannot understand who is the deva or divine and who is demoniac except by their activities. You can't tell by looking at somebody, are they a good person or a bad person? But when you see that the activities that they perform, then you can understand, are they good or bad? So in chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna explains the demonic nature and the divine nature. Of the demonic, he says, so much is mine today, and I will get more according to my schemes. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemy will also be killed. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. No one is as happy as I am. So this way, Krishna is explaining that there are demonic people in this world and what their nature is. And if anything, what he gives us is an understatement. In other words, it's much worse than what he says it is. And so to understand what it's really like, I'm going to just give a brief rundown again from this lecture that I gave before. We were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita. So there's 400,000 species of humans, right? 8,400,000 species of life. 400,000 are human beings. We usually think of human being as human being, one, but there's 400,000. So we understand that species means a particular consciousness, right? The consciousness of a dog, bow wow. Consciousness of a cat, meow. Consciousness of a human, 400,000 different kinds of consciousness. Some are divine and some are demonic. So, of the demonic, the modern psychologists, they say, well, you have the psychopath, you have the necrophile, and you have the narcissist. Now, whether these are three different species, I don't know. I'm not saying that. But we'll look at the qualities of these three, and we can understand from this that they are, in fact, quite demonic. So, a necrophile is a person who loves everything that's dead. Right? They're afraid of life. They want to transform the organic into the inorganic. They want to approach life mechanically, as if all persons were things, or they want to transform persons into things. Feelings, thoughts, and so on. They want to make these into things, right? So we have Elon Musk, right? He's doing this neuron interface so they can make your thoughts a thing. Got nothing to do with a person. They can relate to an object only if they possess it. So so they see this world and they can only think of the only value this world has is for them to own. Otherwise, it has no value at all. Okay? Not for you or anybody else. Doesn't matter. Only if I own it does it have value. So normal human beings don't think like this. So when we want to understand the kind of world that the demons created, we have to understand the mindset of a demon. And it's very disgusting to try to have to think like this. But you have to change your thought process. Otherwise, you can't understand what they're doing and where they're trying to go. The necrophile loves control, and in controlling life, he kills it. He's truly enamored by force and the power to kill, and is very willing to kill. For him, killing is not something that he has to do now or then. No, it's his way of life. It's his way of accomplishing things, right? You got a problem? Kill something. That's how they think. So, necrophile. The next one, malignant narcissism. Narcissism means I am the center of everything. So, I am everything at the exclusion of everyone else. You don't exist. Only I exist, right? And I'm completely absorbed in the ruthless pursuit of whatever I want. And I'll get whatever I want at any cost, especially at your expense. Huh? They're thinking, I am great because of what I have. I have money, I have wealth, I have position, I have these things. Therefore, I am great and I want to be greater, so I will get what? More according to my schemes. The narcissist enjoys making people suffer and being cruel to other people. For them, they take pleasure in controlling other people. They want to control. They get enjoyment from controlling people. When they can control you, they're happy. Not normal human being, right? If they can make them suffer or destroy them, or especially use their trust or their confidence that they place in you to destroy them, that's even better. They take great pleasure in that. They do not respect kindness or gentle persuasion. The only thing they respect is force. In other words, you give some good argument, they don't care. You know? You have a good argument where you should not wear the mask, they don't care. Are you suffering because you're wearing a mask or you're locked in your house? Ha ha ha, good. This is how they think. If you try to point out their faults, they become violently angry and they say that you must be wrong because I can't be wrong. So if you see some fault in me, you were wrong. You're the place where the evil resides and you must be destroyed. They think like this. This is not a projection. They actually think like this. So a normal person who sees wrong behavior in them, in what they're doing, they become the problem. And they have to be eliminated. Can you see this, what's going on today? Okay, and the last one, psychopaths. Psychopaths are the same thing. They lie, cheat, steal. They have no conscience. Normal people have a conscience. Tells them the difference between right and wrong. Psychopaths don't. They have no corrective element. And whatever they want to do, that's what's right. And anybody that opposes them, that's what's wrong. They think that the foolish should be taken advantage of. They think that they would be foolish if they did not take advantage of the weak. So who are the weak? Women, children, less educated, less able people. You must take advantage of them. South America, IMF, and World Bank took advantage of all the countries in the Southern Hemisphere. They have no remorse or guilt, no shame. Again, if their wrongdoing is pointed out, they say, you're the problem, not them. I can't be wrong because I'm perfect. I'm perfect. I can't be wrong. Neither can they listen to or think that anybody else has any valid opinion. If you have an opinion that's different from theirs, it doesn't make any difference. You can't have an opinion that's different that has any meaning. So, and what do they love? They also love power and control of other people. They have an extremely strong will and are determined to have their own way. So if we think of these kind of qualities, we remember Hiranyakashipu, he had many of these same qualities. This is what the demonic are like. Okay, with that mindset, let's create a civilization. Okay, this is who we are. How are we going to organize society, and for what purpose? You don't have to think very long before you understand that they're going to organize it for their benefit at everybody else's expense. This is what they do. So let's take a look at the kind of society they create. Again, control of others, exploitation of the weak, manipulate and control. So, first of all, they want to create systems that allow them to control other people. Well, in many years ago, the only system that they had was the sword. And they used that fairly effectively, right? Genghis Khan, he was pretty good. Napoleon, he was pretty good. The Greeks, the Romans, the Assyrians, they employed the sword fairly well. All these are demonic civilizations. If we look at the history of the world, we see those civilizations that were conquering others. So much is mine today, and I will get more according to my schemes. I got a good scheme here. My sword. They're all demonic civilizations. Okay. But that changed around 500 years ago. They got a better idea of using a different method of control. Oh, no. First, the next method of control was the belief in religion. And this was employed by both the Muslims and the Christians to control what people would think and who they would give their homage to, who they would surrender to and obey. So for about 1,000 years, we had control by religion. Then they got a better idea to control everybody with money. And it took them a long time to get that system into place, about 300 years, to drive people off of the land into the cities. They call this the Industrial Revolution when it finally came about in full swing. But they were pushing from about 1500, maybe a little earlier, to 1800 to try to drive people off the land, but people didn't want to leave. This, again, is documented very extensively in my spiritual economics book. So money is a system of control. And who gets to create money? They do. Not you, not me, right? And how do they control the money? Well, they created so that, or the American dollar is worth 65 times more than it is worth in India, or 60 times more than Russia. And in Uganda, for example, the Uganda shilling, you have to have 3,200 of them for $1 US. So what this means, they've set up this system in such a way that they can go with their money, which is worth more, they can go to some foreign country and completely buy it up very inexpensively. We all know, we've traveled to India, right? Anybody's traveled to India, we like it. Oh yes, everything is cheap. Well, so we take advantage of it too. We're born into this culture and we don't really understand it, but we go along with the ride, right? When it serves us. So they've set it up like that because it allows them to exploit the world and take the wealth of everyone. So money system. Money gives them a method of control. Now, What are the other methods of control? Law is one. The Roman jurisprudence is considered their greatest contribution to Western civilization. So the Romans had a system of law, which is basically become the basis for all law in Europe and America, and I suppose the whole world by now. One interesting fact about Roman law was that there is no limit to what anybody could own. Usually, most indigenous cultures, they put limits on what a person could own. But now we've got Bill Gates buying up the world, right? He's got 240,000 acres of farmland in America. The richest, that's the person who owns the most land in America, owns 2 million acres. I can't remember the name. But, so these very wealthy people, they've accumulated wealth. We'll explain that, how they accumulated that. And they use it to buy up the whole world. So, law. Law gives a way of control, especially when you know how the law works and you use it to your advantage. So, law. And with law, they establish other methods of control, such as corporations. A corporation we could call a formal institution. Formal institutions, the first one that I know of was the East India Company, established in something like 1500, maybe 1600 something. And that corporation was set up so that some people could put up money and fund an expedition of sailing ships to go to India to begin doing trade. So corporations, how do they work? They have a hierarchical control. One person at the top can decide what the actions of hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of other people will be. So they set up corporations using legal criteria. And they also set up governments with the same hierarchical control. They put power in a seat, a position, president. They give that position the power. And it does not matter who sits in that position, what their qualification is or not. The main qualification is they're going to do what they're told. And so it doesn't matter whether they understand this is right or wrong, or particularly it's more important that they will do it even if it is wrong. And then they get rewarded if they do. So this is their system of government. Institutions. Institutions did not exist. Formal institutions did not exist in Vedic culture or in the indigenous cultures around the world, generally. This is a system of absolute control where you can, when you have somebody that has a position, they're dependent on their job for money, and you can control whether they have the job or not. You control what they do. And even if the worker, they violate their conscience, they're thinking, I have no choice. I have to feed my family. And then one more method of control is the system of government. And what do they like for that? They like democracy, right? Especially America, we're going to save the world for democracy. So America goes around the world bombing all these countries to establish democracy.
Freedom.
Yeah. But what's democracy? Generally, they establish two parties to divide people. How many parties, political parties, you have here?
Lots of.
Many?
Yes,
Well, two main.
bigger and lots of
Small ones.
small ones.
Uh-huh. Anyway, generally two, so they can divide people. Almost every country, two parties. And then how do they elect people? By popular vote, right? Now, the problem with this system is that the majority of people are of a Sudra nature. Not a criticism, people are who they are. But this means they do not have a discriminating intelligence to understand who is good and who is bad. They can't understand. So they're easily manipulated so that they can make people vote whatever way they want by the propaganda that they make. And of course, they make the propaganda that democracy, this is the best system of government, even though you vote somebody into office and that person never is supposed to be the representative of the people, right? That's what it's supposed to do. You're our representative, you vote for us. But it doesn't happen like that. They get into office and they do whatever they want. And then you can't get rid of them. Okay, you'll have a chance to vote in 4 years. In the meantime, they're destroying, right? They've done everything that they said they wouldn't do. They're not doing what they said they would do and destroying everything. So, this is a creation of demons. This is a demonic society. But because we grow up in it, from the time we're children, we think it's normal. It's simply the way the world works, right? Everything is as it should be. And so even say if you're going to make a company, you create some hierarchical control because we've been programmed to think, well, I'm the boss, I get to make the decisions, he works for me, I pay him, so I get to tell him what to do. And we think this is normal. It's one way of doing things. Is it the best way? My analysis, I say it's the demonic way. It is not a proper civilization. Again, what is the civilization for? What's the purpose? Who's going to benefit by the activities of the civilization? Now, we can look at the current world circumstances and we can understand that, right? We've got some billionaires, hundreds of billions of dollars, and they're doing all kind of crazy things. Bill Gates thinks that he can spray water into the air and make cloud and create a cloud cover. What about us? We don't get to say anything about that? Hey, wait a minute, right? Or take another one, persistent contrails, the white lines in the sky. You've all seen them. Did anybody ask our permission? What are they doing up there? Can we talk about that? You can't say anything about that. And nobody will talk to you about that. So the society is designed for the benefit of a few at the expense of the many. And that's just materially speaking. Spiritually speaking, the whole society is going to hell. And they don't care. Of course, they don't believe in heaven and hell. So they don't care what the result is. Again, right? They're happy if you suffer. They exploit you, take your money, take advantage of you. That gives them great pleasure. This is the world that we live in. So we agree, yes, there needs to be a great reset. Absolutely. Now, what's their idea for the Great Reset? To exploit you and control you even more. In the name of doing good, we're going to control and exploit you even more. The so-called, you know what, we'll turn people into programmable machines, right? Again, the narcissist, he wants to make the living into something dead. That's what they're doing. And they're getting people to line up for it. Millions. So they're very clever, they're intelligent, and they're very diabolical. So, yes, we agree there needs to be a great reset. Next time we'll talk about what a proper reset would be like for the benefit of the people and for their not only for their material benefit but for their spiritual benefit as well. So we'll stop there for discussion.
We must employ the Vedic knowledge on this situation, because other way I think is not possible to change this situation.
The most important thing, in my opinion, is to understand the nature, what the demonic nature really is. Because I see some videos, there's a lot of people talking. And because they don't understand this demonic nature properly, they think, okay, these people are just greedy. Tony Fauci, he wants to make billions of dollars. It's not about money. They have much more diabolical goal to turn people into machines, so they have absolute control. And again, unless we understand what this demonic mentality is, you project your human experience onto them. You think they're normal people, that they're going to agree. And we say, hey, wait a minute. It's been 1 year, and we look at the numbers, and this thing is no different than the ordinary flu, right? 0.5% of people are dying, and we're changing the whole world because of that. That's the real science. They won't hear it. Doesn't make any difference. Oh, we got another strain. Even though they never identified the original one, right? It's never been identified that it is an actual thing. And then they can say, oh, well, we've got another one. It's more contagious. It's more deadly. How do they know?
Today I read new one.
Yeah.
This is like Santa Barbara. New one.
Yeah. So they can say that, just like the old one, without any proof, they can say new one, new one, new one.
Yeah.
And they will continue. That's the plan, to continue, right? Because their motto, order out of chaos, they plan to create chaos and shock doctrine. And when people suffer enough or are afraid enough, they will do whatever they're told. People become so afraid. Take this vaccine. Okay. Nobody knows what's in it, what's it for. And those who are looking, conspiracy theorists. So, the demonic mentality, they lie. They have no problem lying. And if you say you're lying, you're wrong. So what do you do with that? Krishna had the answer at the battlefield of Kurukshetra. That's how you deal with the demonic people. Yeah. Because otherwise, what? They engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. And they will destroy the world. They will, right? You can't have any proper seeds that are created by God. Only the seeds created by them. And what do? They made a big vault in Norway, right? Where it's very cold, and they put all the original seeds in there. Now, why are they doing that? You know, they've got a plan. Oh, after we accomplish our agenda, then we'll get rid of everything else and we'll bring back the originals for us, not for you. They're demons. And we cannot emphasize this enough. Because unless we accept this, unless we see this and accept this, we have no way to fix what's going on. And the only way to actually fix this is with the help of God. So I completed today introductory video for my Spiritual Revolution website or YouTube channel. I put it on there. And so this is the idea. We need the help of God to solve this problem. Now, Krishna had to come before to solve the problem, right? And he solved it at Kurukshetra. And we need Krishna's help again, but this time he comes in his holy name. Hare Krishna. We need to get millions of people to chant Hare Krishna mantra to solve this problem. One, because by chanting the mantra, the karma is eliminated. This is the real problem. The demons themselves are not the problem. They're the agents of the karma for all the sinful people. The sinful people, they have a bill to pay. And they can pay it by suffering, which the demons will arrange for them, or they can pay the bill by chanting Hare Krishna mantra. Karma. Go on. Okay. That's the beginning of the change. So we say, okay, so many people think, well, we're coming to a spiritual age. Like it's just going to happen to us. We just sit here and be the same, right? The world's going to change, and I'll stay the same, and the world's going to change, and I'll be happy. Right? This is how we think. Doesn't work like that. We have to change, and that change begins with calling on God to purify our dirty heart so that I change, you change, millions of people change. Yeah, then the world can enter into spiritual age. But if that doesn't happen, unless we change our own karma, unless we grow and develop spiritually, there's not going to be any spiritual age. What do the Christians call it? Age of, anyway. So many spiritual teachings, they have this idea we're entering into a coming spiritual age. That means people are going to become spiritual. And they can because what? Bhagavad Gita is available to everyone in the world now. So we know what spiritual means now. It's not just a belief or an idea. Okay, I believe. That doesn't make you spiritual. Right? I still got the dirty heart. I still have all of my material desires, but I believe. Doesn't work like that. So we have to, that's the other part, spiritual evolution. Right? Spiritual revolution is chanting the Mahamantra. Spiritual evolution is learning about what it means to be spiritual. What am I as a spiritual being? How do I grow? Why am I in a material world? All this, when we learn this and understand this, then we can change our behavior. Then we know why to change our behavior. And we know how. So we need a spiritual revolution. That's my great reset. Spiritual revolution.
Greater.
Greater reset. Thank you. There's a lot of people, some nice people, they already did a video. They got a lot of new agey kind of people together, and they did a video program with the Greater Reset. It was nice idea. So, I'm not the only one saying Greater Reset. There's many people have this idea. Okay, how are we going to get there from here? That's the question. And so let's all cooperate, right? But let's all chant Hare Krishna too. Okay, I'll stop there. Thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.